We do these creator stories. It's called the I Am a Creator documentary.
What's the approach there? Is that something recently you started doing, or how did that came to fruition?
We're wanting YouTube to be an even bigger driver than it is by sharing some of these stories, which are going to have a wider appeal.
Today we have Thom Gibson, the genius behind the social media and YouTube strategy at ConvertKit, a $40 million email marketing tool.
At ConvertKit, Thom helps bring attention to creators and businesses on how to leverage email marketing and boost sales.
Is it YouTube? Is it SEO? Is it the influencer marketing program? Is it word of mouth? Is it affiliate? Like, what is working?
So a part of that is the influencers, but another part of that is like on our main platform that like the conversations that are happening with creators are primarily happening on.
In this episode, we dive deep into Thom's top strategies for combining email marketing with YouTube,
how to craft compelling emails to drive traffic to your channel,
common pitfalls to avoid that could be costing you tens of thousands of dollars a month,
and what the rebrand of ConvertKit, soon to be Kit, can mean for you.
Don't miss out on Thom's expert advice and innovative strategies that could transform your approach to content creation. This is the Playstack podcast where we talk about everything
B2B YouTube growth. Awesome, Thom. Thank you so much for joining us on the Playstack podcast. I'm super excited for this. We've been chatting a little bit on LinkedIn. Maybe you don't know this, or I mentioned when I introduced myself the first time, but Chris Nguyen, one of your influencers at ConvertKit, told me to reach out to you. Reason being that is significant because Chris was one of the original founders of Playstack as well. He went then to move on to his own thing, but I was talking to him and I'm talking about his journey as well, like as a creator. And then he was like super excited that he got sponsored by ConvertKit. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. I've been following Nathan's $1 Billion Creator podcast and videos. And just like the first time I heard Nathan was on Ali Abdaal's podcast, I believe. And I went down that rabbit hole. And so I wanted to get in touch with someone at ConvertKit. Nathan was maybe the step too far, but like the emphasis of Playstack is also like we want to see the behind the scenes of a business and a creator and stuff like that. So I believe you as a social media and YouTube strategist at ConvertKit, this is like the perfect fit. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm super excited for this one.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. I didn't know that Chris was the connection. I just got the email from y'all. I was like, hey, would you like to come on the show? And so that's cool to know.
He was like, yeah, reach out to Thom. Like, he's super responsive. He's super cool dude. He'll be like definitely wanting to talk to you guys. So here we are.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. To get people some more context about who you are, you have quite the interesting story, isn't it? And Mike as well is like, who's this Thom guy? Like, because I introduced Thom to Mike. He's like, who's this Thom guy? And then he realized like, oh, you're a teacher. And Mike, what was it that you said about that?
So I was checking out your LinkedIn profile and I saw that you was a teacher for 7 years at middle school. And what I found interesting was that when I look back to when I was at school, I don't remember any teachers leaving their teaching job to become an entrepreneur and kind of do their own thing. I don't think it ever happened. So I think that you have quite an interesting story. So yeah, I'm just curious about your, like that kind of process on why you decided to leave the teaching job to kind of work for yourself and work from home.
I did not expect to leave the classroom. I was really good at teaching. I like teaching. I won 2 like Teacher of the Year awards when I was teaching. I loved the school that I was at. That it was a very progressive school. Like I had a YouTube video production class that I got to teach, to high schoolers, and like because my principal was like, "Hey, we just want to come up with some cool electives for some from the 9th and 10th graders." And so it wasn't a situation, because I know a lot of teachers right now are leaving because of burnout, because of like just like all the demands of the job, and so it wasn't that for me. But while I was teaching back in 2015, I started making YouTube videos, and I'd been teaching for a couple years by that point. And I, for several years, just made YouTube videos for every week that I was in the classroom. So in 2015, I was making a video almost every week where I was just showcasing what I was doing in the classroom. I was coming up with videos for other teachers to kind of like, hey, try this cool thing if you're a middle school teacher. And I even started like building out like a newsletter while I was teaching, and I even built out a podcast while I was teaching, because I actually have a background in audio engineering. I studied audio engineering in college. And so I was like kind of like diving into this creator world as a teacher. And it was super fun. Like I was going to conferences and talking and giving, and like I created an online course for teachers on, one of the innovative things that I was doing in my classroom. And so, 2021 came, and our daughter was a year and a half, and I was getting ready to go back into school. And it was, the height of COVID was still happening. My wife's a pediatrician as well. And so we realized that we weren't quite ready to send her to daycare, given everything that was happening with COVID still. But given that my wife was a pediatrician, like, it didn't make a lot of sense for her to, stay home with Audrey while I go to work with my, teacher salary. I was doing the creator thing online, but I wasn't making like a significant amount of income. So I started working from home, and I actually joined a ed tech startup. It was me and two other guys, and we were creating YouTube content, online courses for teachers, showing them how to leverage technology in the classroom. And it was called New Ed Tech Classroom. YouTube channel had, I believe, over 200,000 subscribers. A little bit over 200,000 before I joined, and pretty big email list. And so we were doing that for a while, and we were doing the conference circuit and everything. And I was working from home and watching our daughter, and but we were struggling to make money because we were selling directly to teachers, which, rule number one when you start a business, like, don't sell to people who don't have disposable income, unless it's just a side hustle, which it was for a long time for me. And we tried to pivot to selling to schools, but it was just really difficult because they had such long sales cycles. It was like, it was, fall, it was January of 2022. And we were like, oh, we need to try to find a way to, start doing professional development with these schools, but they weren't looking for anyone until the fall of 2023, and so it was really challenging. And, me and my wife had our second child on the way. And so I started looking for other work from home opportunities. And that's where I landed at ConvertKit. I became their social media and YouTube strategist, which I really felt was like the amalgamation of a lot of the experiences that I had just kind of coming to a head, because I was doing a lot of the work that I'm doing now at ConvertKit with all the creating the social media content and repurposing, blogs or podcasts into social content, and like coming up with a YouTube strategy. Like I was doing that for myself, and then I was doing that for New Ed Tech Classroom, and now to be able to do that, at ConvertKit with a team, like it's not just me and two other guys. It's like, I've got this whole brand team. I've got the filmmaker. I've got an editor. I've got, it's been really fun, and like I love it. And so that's kind of like I didn't leave out of being kind of burnt out, but even at the end of teaching, I was like I found myself a lot more interested in like the creator space. I would go to work, and during my off period, I wasn't necessarily working on lesson plans. I was like crafting YouTube thumbnails, or writing a newsletter or something like that, because that stuff was actually like exciting me a lot more. And so now to be like fully in the creator space, I couldn't be happier.
That's really cool, to be honest. And okay, so one of the big things is because ConvertKit is a SaaS tool. Like we work with mainly businesses in the YouTube space, and I know a few people work with SaaS businesses that use social media and stuff. Like, what's the strategy behind the social media strategy and the YouTube strategy for a SaaS tool? Because it's tough, right? Like on top of my mind, it's like how-tos or tutorials on how to use the tool, but that's not really how you grow an audience, right? Like what's the approach there?
Yeah, it definitely has to have a mix of like the videos that people would expect to find on your YouTube channel. Like if I'm starting to use ConvertKit, I expect that there's probably a video on how to make a landing page on ConvertKit. And so like those are the types of videos you definitely want to have on the channel, the kind of like the more the basics. And now like with our rebrand that's happening, we are getting ready. Like once right now, the company that I work at, ConvertKit, is going through a whole rebrand. We're rebranding to Kit, and so with that, it's going to come with a new logo, a new interface, new colors, and everything like that. So we are waiting until all of that new interface and everything comes, and so we're going to update all of those like meat and potatoes tutorials of like how to get started on ConvertKit, that kind of stuff. But like you said, like that's not that doesn't necessarily grow the channel, doesn't necessarily grow the audience. It's kind of like people that are already using the platform are finding those tools and finding those videos. And so, part of the approach that I'm taking is to kind of think of like, okay, what are some things that we can speak to about email, but like hit on, bigger creator problems. And so, we put out a video called beginner versus pro newsletters, and a lot of it was like, here's what beginners are doing, here's what professionals are doing. And in most of that video, we're showcasing and highlighting ConvertKit features, and a lot of them may be exclusive to ConvertKit, but we're not like saying like, and that's why you should start your ConvertKit account. Should click on the link to start your 14-day free trial. We're not saying that in the middle of the video because one, we don't want people to leave in the middle of the video because that's a bad viewer signal to YouTube, and they're like, why are people leaving in the video? But additionally, we're trying to lead with as much value in these types of videos, and so like we're even like working on a video that's like, if Mr. Beast had a newsletter, and trying to think through like with someone with a massive audience, like how does someone with a huge audience leverage email, and how much money are they leaving on the table by not doing so, and so it's trying to reach on the people that may not even realize that they're missing out by having a newsletter, and so that video is like getting into all of, Jimmy's like different business ventures and what he's already doing and the different styles that he purchases video and what does that look like for a newsletter. And so it's kind of like a mix of that type of content. But then also like, we're going to publish a video tomorrow with our CEO talking about like what's new in ConvertKit, and like that's going to be a video that's on YouTube, and it's not going to be a video that's like going to, have evergreen, visibility. Like it's not going to be as relevant 6 months from now. But, he's going to post it natively on his LinkedIn and his Twitter platform, because for people that are working B2B, SaaS companies or any kind of B2B company, like founder-led content is like having your founder connect with your audience. People are going to connect a lot more with like a face and a personality and a name than they are a brand account, So while we are posting it on the ConvertKit YouTube channel, he's going to be posting it natively on the, his Nathan Barry X account and LinkedIn account, because we know it's going to drive a lot more traffic that way. And then I'm going to repost it from, all the ConvertKit socials. But we're also repurposing that video too and feeding it directly into our app. We've got a little playlist when people log into the app where we can put whatever videos we want there. So that way, if someone's not on YouTube, someone's not on X, someone's not on LinkedIn, they are still seeing, the updates. They're still hearing about the content. They're still hearing from the CEO. And so that's kind of the strategy that we're taking, is like, how can we create both of those styles of content that is meant for, the bottom of funnel, the user, the new user, the existing user, but also the type of content that shows our software as a solution to our target demographics problem. And like, the big question that comes from that is like, well, then, how do I position it? So it's not about my product and someone wants to click on the video, there's one of the main resources that I use is a newsletter called Creator Hooks by a creator named Jake Thomas. And what he does is every week he sends out outlier video titles. And so basically a video that popped off for a channel that got way more viewership than what that channel normally gets. So that means like there's something about the way they package this video and the title and the thumbnail. And so every week, I'm looking through those titles and I'm thinking like, okay, these titles have nothing to do with the SaaS product, have nothing to do with email marketing, but what's the what's the tweak that I can make, about, email marketing, and like the beginner versus pro was like what newsletters was from that, because it was like beginner versus pro video editors, beginner versus pro photographers, there's something about that idea that's more intriguing than like, ConvertKit best practices, because that's really what the video was. It was like a best practices when writing your newsletter, but that's not going to appeal to nearly as many people. So
yeah, it's how you package it, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And like, so the title and the idea is like, you want to lead with that, like what's a good, intriguing idea. But then with thumbnails are hard. Thumbnails are so hard. I'll shout out a course that and a community that I'm a part of. There's a creator named Ed Lawrence. He has the channel Film Booth and Creator Booth, and he has a course called Thumbnail University, and he basically walks you through like how to create thumbnails for YouTube using Photoshop, even if you've never used Photoshop. And so, having, someone on your team like go through that course, and like there's like a Discord community where you can go in and share like, here's my idea for a thumbnail and title. And then you get feedback from the community, you get feedback from Ed and one of the other creators that created the course with them. So like it's not a perfect science. And so you kind of have to get that feedback, that gut reaction from people, and then see, what works and what doesn't with your audience, because particularly now with thumbnails, YouTube's just released a thumbnail testing feature where you can like try 3 different types of thumbnails and see like, let me try a thumbnail that has my face in it. Let me try a thumbnail that just has the software in it. Let me try a thumbnail with this big bold text. Let me see what type our audience is resonating with and what people are clicking on and watching longer. So that was a lot, but that's kind of like my approach to YouTube, the ConvertKit YouTube channel.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, cool. You mentioned Jake because he was on the podcast before you. We were still editing that one. So that will come out probably before this, so hopefully the people will know.
Before we continue with the episode, I really quickly want to talk about some of the results that we're getting for some of our clients at Playstack. With BK Traders, one of our clients, we significantly increased their views. We started working with them July the 16th, 2023, and they were averaging about 1,000 views per day, and now they're averaging about 10,000 to 11,000 views per day. The second client, Luke Wing, before we started working with him, he was getting almost 0 views per video, and it took us 1 month and 21 days before we was getting Luke 39,000 views a day. Cannabis legalization news, we 200x'd his views. As soon as we start working with the client, the first video is almost always a 1 out of 10, meaning that it outperforms the last 10 of the videos. And our mastermind is full of great advice, great results. We've got some very experienced YouTubers in there, 1, 2, 3 million subscribers. If you are interested in a free YouTube strategy call, you can click the link in the description below or look in the show notes and book a call with me and Dee and Milan. We'll be more than happy to share as much information as we can to help you grow on YouTube and make more sales.
And I think Ed, like we should get him on the podcast as well. I know we talked to, maybe I'm wrong, but we talked to George Blackman, and he works with Ed as well, right?
Yes, yeah, he did. And we actually I connected with George. George started a script writing agency a few months ago, and we were one of his first clients. And then he realized like, wow, like I've bit off more than I can chew. And, I don't know if he talked about that on the podcast with you.
Yeah, we did. Like we went deep on that. That wasn't very interesting.
But it was great because he had some script writers that still wanted to continue to write scripts and work with us. And so we're still working with those script writers. And what's really nice is like the more videos they make, for us, the more they learn about ConvertKit, the more they learn about, our main script writer that's doing it. He's like, man, making these videos is like making me level up my own email marketing, because he's a creator himself and a YouTube channel and everything like that. So yeah, we got connected to George and some script writers that way, because there's a whole art and science to like how do you write a script in a way that keeps people watching, as opposed to just saying like, here's point number 1, now let me explain it and now let me show it to you.
Yeah, we went deep on that topic with George for sure. That's why we got him on. Like for us, we were geeking out on George because he's so famous for working with Ali Abdallah as well, someone in Mike's space. So we were, it's like a little, for us it feels like a little bubble that everybody knows each other. But if you're not in that bubble, nobody knows about Jay
like,
or
exactly.
George or ConvertKit.
Like in our company, George Blackman is so famous. Like everyone in our team, like we're talking about George all the time. But then like someone who's not in the kind of YouTube space probably doesn't know who George is. So he's kind of funny.
Yeah, it is funny, these little circles and little ecosystems of people.
Yeah, for sure. So with the strategy, like I mentioned before, like one of the way we got connected was through Chris, is one of your influences. Is like, when did you start doing that? Because I know you're also doing that with Jay Kloss, who was also on the podcast, by the way. So like what's the approach there? Is that something recently you started doing? Or how did that came to fruition?
Yeah, so the influencer program, it's a little bit different than what Chris is a part of. The idea came from, our CEO Nathan was saying, like, in the past we've worked with influencers and creators and YouTube creators and stuff like that, but a lot of times it was like there was so much time that went to negotiating different contracts. Like, this creator is asking for this much, and then they have we pay this much to be able to run ads on any of the content that they create with us, and like this creator's got a whole different thing, and it's very time consuming. And so like one of the ways was like, well, how can we get influencers but streamline this process, and be able to kind of like have more people creating more content about ConvertKit in different corners of the internet. And so with this influencer program, the way it works is we have a flat rate that we offer creators. Sometimes it is lower than what they expect, and we totally understand that. We say like, yeah, this is not the right fit for everybody. And I'll be candid. We pay $1,000 a month for either one long form video or 3 short form videos. And so some creators we've reached out to, and like, they're like, yeah, that's great. I'm already talking about ConvertKit, and I'm happy to do that. And then other creators are like, candidly, like this is, less than half of what we make. And I tell them, I'm like, I totally get that. What you're charging is totally fair for the size of your audience and the engagement levels that you have. And, we know that, and I tell them, why we created the program the way that we did, and said, like, we know that it's just not the right fit for everyone. And, thank you so much for wanting to collaborate with us in this way. And if things change, I'll be sure to let you know in the future, if we're able to make like adjustments to the program. And what's been wild about that is like, some people are just like, they just are so excited and enthusiastic to work with us. They're like, you know what, like, let's just go ahead and do it, like, but what's great is like all the influencers in that program will make content about the same thing every month. So if there's like a hard push that we want to have, we can say, okay, this month, we want everyone to create content about ConvertKit's creator profile, which is kind of like your ConvertKit page where you can have your newsletters show there. You can also, you can make it like a small website. You can have links there. You can have an about page, all sorts of things like that, and so all of the creators are taking their own approach to it and sharing, like some of them are doing a step-by-step tutorial on like how to set up their creator profile. The other ones are kind of showing like what different creators can use a creator profile for. Some people are making short form videos that are more meme style about the creator profile and saying like, comment, creator, and I'll DM you like, my favorite template that I use on the creator profile. So they're all taking their own different approaches with it, which is awesome. And then we can kind of see, we also incentivize like high viewership, because if they get higher viewership on their video, whether it's 3,000 views on a long form video or 10,000 views on a short form video, they get a $500 bonus on any of those videos that they make. So that way we then also see, what did they say in this video that seems to be resonating with people that we could possibly adopt in some of our marketing language around the creator profile, for example. And sometimes it's just like a funny meme or a funny GIF, and that's why it took off, but it still gets, ConvertKit in front of people, and like in front of, and we make sure that all of the creators that are in this program have an audience of creators, so it's not just someone who's a big fan of ConvertKit, it's someone who is helping creators with their business and their email marketing and their automations and their tech stack and things like that, because that is our target demographic, so that's kind of like the influencer program in a nutshell. And we it's been great, working with creators like Chris, who's He's taking a one approach, whereas, we have a short form creator that we work with named Clark Gary, and, he's big in the AI space, but he even took he's like, I asked AI, what are some of the top, ways to be making money, the non-obvious ways to make money as a content creator. And I didn't even realize you can buy and sell email templates, because that was the month that we were selling, promoting our email template marketplace, where you can, get free ones, or you can build your own and sell them in the marketplace as a way to make money. So it's been really cool and really fun. It started in March of this year, 2024. And with every month, every few months, we're adding a few new creators to the program and kind of revising the systems and stuff. That's kind of the way that we've used it. And with the YouTube channel, I'm planning on taking some of the best content that creators make, long form content, and then just creating a playlist on our YouTube channel about some of those step-by-step tutorial ones that people make. So now that's all right, now that's a video that has been made, it's been done well, and we don't have to natively make that on our channel.
Yeah. That's cool.
So you're kind of in charge of the marketing, the social media, YouTube for ConvertKit. I'm curious what is working for ConvertKit in terms of, so you mentioned with the YouTube channel, a lot of viewers of the YouTube channel, they're already using ConvertKit, but a lot of the videos on the YouTube channel are more kind of tutorials. So I'm wondering, how are people finding out about ConvertKit? Is it YouTube? Is it SEO? Is it the influencer marketing program? Is it word of mouth? Is it affiliate? What is working?
Yeah, it's a lot of SEO. We've got a lot of blog content on the website, and so that's driving a lot of traffic and a lot of new users. It's a lot. We have a lot of paid advertisements. There's a whole department that kind of covers that. I'm not as involved with paid traffic with ads on. I mean, I've provided some social assets for the paid team to run as ads on social media and Instagram and things like that. But the goal now is to continue to build out that community of super fans. So a part of that is the influencers. But another part of that is on our main platform, that the conversations that are happening with creators are primarily happening on Twitter, X. And so we have this ambassador program where, we work to, we connect with other, ConvertKit power users that have an audience of creators and are writing about email marketing. And a lot of times we will amplify their content, and whatever they're posting about email marketing, we'll share it with their audience, or whatever we're posting, they'll share it with their audiences. It's a very mutually beneficial relationship. But a lot of them and a lot of people beyond the ambassador program are jumping into those conversations on Twitter that are happening of hey, what email service provider is everybody using, and so people will be sharing ConvertKit or sharing some of our competitors and talking about the pros and the cons. And so that's where a lot of the narrative around what are creators using happens. And so I'm in there not only from the ConvertKit account, but I'll also jump over to my own personal brand account, and just say, I don't hide the fact that I work at ConvertKit when I'm recommending it, but I also tell them it's we'd love to have you at ConvertKit. I use it to run 2 of my own personal newsletters, and talk about the automations that I use in one of them, and then talk about the different evergreen nature of the other, and then I look to see what's going on in their business, that ConvertKit would be a good fit for them, or what they seem to be interested in and what they seem to want out of an email service provider. So it's kind of all of those things, and we're ramping up the YouTube channel more. In the past years, we've had we do these creator stories. It's called the I Am a Creator documentary, and we will showcase how we'll showcase basically the journey of some of these creators that use ConvertKit, but it's less about here's how I started using ConvertKit, and a lot more of here's how I became a creator. I was working on Wall Street, and it was destroying me, even though I was making plenty of money, and I just wanted to write, and I wrote in my spare time, and I had this blog, and then it started taking off, and I decided, and then they talk about, the way ConvertKit has been able to help them to leverage and grow their business, but it's really their story, and a lot of times we'll make multiple pieces of YouTube content out of that. So that way, we'll have sections where they're diving into their ConvertKit playbook, and say what they do. And we've done that with Jay. And, you can even see I use this sequence and I ask this question in my welcome sequence and things like that. And so we're wanting YouTube to be an even bigger driver than it is by sharing some of these stories, which are going to have a wider appeal. And then even more specifically, sharing some of these playbooks where it's maybe not ConvertKit customers, but people that are wanting to grow and build their business. And they want to see what Jay Klaus is doing in creator science and how he's leveraging email marketing in that. So it's all those different channels kind of working together. But yeah, SEO is definitely a big one, and paid is a big one, and the conversations that are happening on Twitter.
That's cool. And so, like I said, I'm following Nathan, the CEO of ConvertKit, a lot with his $1 Billion Creator podcast, and just overall him being on other podcasts as well. Does that have a big influence on the sales of ConvertKit, or just the conversation around it?
It's funny you mentioned that, because he just shared with the team yesterday, just he's been treating his personal brand more as a side project for the past 6 months to a year, but we really now are going to be dialing into that a lot more to promote ConvertKit, and the power of ConvertKit in a creator's tech stack and what it can do. And so we've got someone that works with him that she basically will interview him for an hour a week, and pull all this content for him that turns into going to be turned into written content, and then it's going to turn into carousels. And now we just built out a podcasting studio in Boise,
new studio
that he is going to be able to kind of go and which is it's got 5 different rooms, and it's free to ConvertKit customers on the Creator and the Creator Pro plan. And those are the only people that can use the studio. So you can't even pay for it if you want. So there are people that are actually it is cheaper for them to fly to Boise, use this podcasting studio, to create their online course or batch record a bunch of podcasts and fly home, than to hire a film crew to come out and film their course or something like that. So he's going to be making more content out of Kit Studios. And so even product updates, I will draft up 2 versions of a product update, especially if it's a big product update. And one version is with maybe it's a video that's kind of showing the update, zooming in, and when you click here, this happens now, is going to go and be published on his X and his LinkedIn account. It's check out this new update from ConvertKit. And then I'll have a similar version that maybe I post from the ConvertKit account, or I'll retweet his version of it from the ConvertKit account, because it's just going to get so much more visibility, so much more eyes, so much more engagement than the brand account. And so the brand account has its place, and we're not abandoning the brand account, but we want to continue to leverage even more Nathan's personal brand and the face of the brand, and his podcast and everything like that. And so he's investing a lot. There's I'm primarily on the ConvertKit side, but he's got a whole team that is doing the $1 Billion Creator podcast and all of the short clips that go up on social media. And, his personal brand, is the head of his personal brand as well, that I work closely with whenever it's something that there's a lot of cross promotion opportunity that we can use, or if it's hey, Kara, I think this would work better if it comes from Nathan's account.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's he started doing these whiteboard sessions, right? He did one with Ali Abdaal and one with John Jasau. Yeah, I think after FitCon, I think that's where they did it or something.
Yeah, it was after Craft and Commerce, which is our annual conference for professional creators here in Boise, and it was one of the first recordings in Kit Studio, because they were we got to get these studios done before everyone comes here, so we can film some podcast episodes.
Yeah, I love those episodes. Nathan was lit, because besides being the CEO of ConvertKit, he has a lot of experience in building that business and all of that. And so he helps people come up with offers. Like he came up with an offer for Ali Abdal or even for John. I was like, would you pay $12,000 for it? It's like, hell yeah. It's like, oh, okay. I love that episode. That was really good.
Just even like a peek behind the curtain with that. The plan for that is because the first video that he did like that coaching session was with Tiago Forte, and it was out at like Tiago's kind of studio, and everyone was like, "This was awesome." You know, like it's very tangible. Like this is what I'm working on now, and I need answers now. You know, and like and Nathan, like you said, he's got experience as a creator himself, but he's also got like a behind the curtain look at all of these like professional creator businesses as like the CEO of ConvertKit. And so, you know, the plan is to have like other creators come in, and they're going to do like 2 episodes. And he kind of did this with John, where John was able to kind of share his expertise on YouTube and everything. And they repurposed the fireside chat that, you know, him and John did at Craft and Commerce as one episode. And then the follow-up episode is like the coaching episode where Nathan kind of gives, you know, feedback and input on their business and whatever they're struggling with, and doing like the whiteboarding stuff. So it's like basically like you're getting 2 opportunities to kind of hear from this expert, but then also coach this expert and hear what they're working on like in their creator business right now. And that's the goal and the hope with you know, all of these upcoming episodes.
The whiteboard session with John was actually like very close to what we are doing as well, because it was about auditing channels and videos, right? But the interesting part about it is that like he talks to Ali Abdal, who makes £5 million per year, and then also to John, who looks from the outside like a super successful creator, but that just opens up the can of worms that they are even struggling with just getting that offer together, or like how to promote their thing and stuff like that. So that really brings it down to such a like even playing level. Is like, okay, we're all here trying to figure out how to run our business. And that's why I love those so much, because like, okay, I can use that. They're struggling with that. You don't feel so alone anymore in trying to build a business, right?
Yeah, because it's so easy to just like from the outside, like all these guys and gals must have they've got their plan dialed in. They know what they're doing. They know why they're doing it. And so much of it. And even with the conversation with John, it was like, yeah, try this, see how it goes. Try that, see how it goes. If that doesn't go, you know, it's like so much of this testing and this iteration. It's like, oh, okay, I'm not alone in the fact that I'm like, I'm not sure what the next move is here, you know? So yeah, I'll pass that on to him, because I know that's a big goal.
Yeah, I really like I've been following John for a very long time, and then now came across Nathan, and that's just like puts everything in a different perspective. Really cool. Now, this is also a good timing for a chat with you at someone at ConvertKit, is because we are launching our newsletter literally in 2 days. It's actually my first newsletter, and I think Mike, he's not the biggest fan of newsletters because he doesn't read any.
Yeah, I like email sequences. I like automated, you write it and then you forget it, as opposed to having to write a newsletter every week.
Yeah, and we've been using ConvertKit for a few months, or maybe a year, maybe by now. And we do the email sequences, and from Thursday, August 1st, we're going to be doing our own newsletter. So I kind of want to pick your brain on a few things. One of which is like what are the minimal viable things that you need to do to use email in your business as a creator or as a normal business, or let's say B2B, B2C, and especially agency side. And how do you integrate that with all your social media as well? Like, what is the strategy behind email with content?
Yeah, in general, if you're trying to think of like, how do I get my social media audience over to my email list? One of the strategies that's worked for me for years, and like, you know, Ollie and John both have shared using it, is like having something, and like particularly like on YouTube, like having a YouTube video where, you know, something that you share in that video, you have some kind of like lead magnet. So for example, my teacher newsletter still grows from a YouTube video like every month. And I don't post any YouTube videos. I don't create any new content or anything like that, because in that video, it's about classroom management, which is a big struggle for teachers. And near the end of that video, I say like, hey, this is a form that I have the students fill out if I ever have to send them out in the hall for misbehavior. And if you want this form, down in the description, just go, you can put your email in and get this form. And so it's like absolutely completely relevant to what I'm talking about in that video. And so lots of teachers like, oh yeah, like, even though I can kind of see the form and I can probably make that on my own in Google Docs, like just email it to me, And so like, that's one of the ways. And then like John Uche talks about like his videos, like if you want to see like a 1-pager of all the notes of my conversation with Mr. Beast, like check the description and I've got it. Ali Abdaal, like so much of his newsletter growth came from like, in one of the videos that we did with him, he talked about how like, he made a video about how he like plans his year. And it's just like, January through December on a spreadsheet with like the weeks. And then he puts in like, trips that he's taken and people he's going to go visit, really simple Google sheet. And then he's just like, why don't we just put it in the description and, let people know, like they can just put their email in. And so that seems to be like a winning way, like some valuable thing that is very relevant to your audience and what you're talking about specifically in that video. They are not creating, they're not using the same lead magnet in every video, they're actually creating specific lead magnets for whatever the topic of that video is. And now with ChatGPT, I mean, if you have a podcast, like you can, come up with like 5 takeaways that, my target demographic could get from this conversation, and action items.
That's what John is doing, I think.
Yeah. And like, and then get that email, so that way you don't have to like build that from scratch. So that is one way. And then once they get into your email sequence, once they put in your email, you can have your welcome. Typically you'll have a welcome sequence that's like, hey, first off, like here's the thing that you asked for. But also, a little bit about us, a little about what we're about. We help these people do these things and solve these problems. If you're new to our content, here are 3 of our best pieces of content that you may want to check out and have that welcome sequence. And a lot of creators will have one welcome sequence for all of their creators, but one of the things that I did was like you can personalize it even more. So like with that hallway refocus form that I sent, the first email, it just delivers it to them. It says, let me know if you have any questions. The second email is like one of the most common questions I get when I get this, when teachers use this form is like, what do I do with the rest of the kids if I go out in the hall to talk to the kids? And so here's what that conversation looks like. And then 2 days after that, I'm like, sometimes I felt like I needed to email the parents about the misbehavior. So how do you write that email? So this is exactly, I've changed the names, but this is exactly the email that I wrote to one of my students' parents about the misbehavior. And I want you to notice X, Y, and Z. So I'm continually just educating them and providing them value and answering questions they didn't even know they had, or maybe they did have, and I'm preemptively answering that question. And so I think with your lead magnets, like having that kind of like education specific to that lead magnet, as much as you can, it just provides that value. And then you can like just say like, hey, like I hope you've been seeing value from this. Then you can start talking a little bit more about yourself, because maybe they're a little bit more bought in because you've been like leading with value. One of the things that Jay Klaus writes in one of his first emails is like, what's happening in your world that led you to sign up for this newsletter? Because then that really helps you learn like who are the people that are actually signing up for this newsletter? Is it the people that I want? Is it other people? Are there other needs that I'm not addressing that I need to be addressing, based on what they're saying? And so like those are some of the ways that I think about like getting an audience off of social media and onto a newsletter. You do see on Twitter and LinkedIn where there's like a lot of like, if you wrote a really good thread, people be like, oh, if you like this, sign up for my newsletter. I'm hearing and seeing that's working less and less. But if you write a really good thread and then you're like, hey, like this thread was about topic A, here is like a resource specifically tied to topic A to go beyond this. That's a lot more inviting than just like sign up for my newsletter that you don't really know what to expect, And to your point, Mike, about like I totally hear you about not wanting to like be on the newsletter grind of every week, got to write a newsletter. So two solutions to that. One, it doesn't have to be every week. So right now I have one that is every other week. It's my work from home dads newsletter, helping dads be more productive in their work so they can be more present in their families. But my teacher one is fully automated. So once they go through those first few emails about the refocus form, there is a year-long automated email sequence that they are dropped into where I send them a new email automatically every 2 weeks about some middle school teaching problem that they may have, that I, took from some of the best content that I had when I was a teacher and repurposed it into a newsletter. And then at the bottom, if they haven't bought my course, there's a few things that I recommend. It's like, hey, when you're ready, here's a few ways that I can help you develop your classroom culture. Here's a YouTube playlist of my best classroom management strategies. Here is a free list of classroom jobs that I gave my students. And if you really want to dive in, here is a course on, how to build a classroom economy. And so in ConvertKit, you can actually say, I only want to show this to people that haven't purchased the course. So that way I'm not continually pitching people that have already bought the course, and I don't need to do that. And so that's all automated, so I'm running 2 newsletters. One's fully automated and one's where I'm like writing a newsletter every 2 weeks.
Yeah, I love the automated newsletters because I also have the same thing where I've got videos that I uploaded 5, 6, 7 years ago. And then I've got a lead magnet in those videos. And then once they join the newsletter, like similar to you, Thom, it's a year. So they get an email. They get an email about once every 2 weeks, and it's all automated. But going back to what you mentioned about getting the people from social media to your email list. What we're actually seeing a lot with lead magnets on YouTube that are really working is instead of making a YouTube video where it's like the top 5 things, or let's say the top 5 ways to be more productive, you would turn it into a framework. So you would be like, instead of the top 5 things, it would be like the ultimate productivity framework or something like that. And then you would and then suddenly it's not just another listicle YouTube video because there's millions of those. Now it's like a proper framework with a proper name. So it must be credible.
Yeah, of course. If this has a name, I got to know about this thing, this framework.
Yeah. And then as you say, Thom, you have a lead magnet, you have a PDF or just something that they can download. And that's working really well, not just in terms of converting those views to people on your email list, but also those framework videos perform really well on YouTube as well. So it's kind of like a win-win there.
Yeah. And I would say technically, don't pitch the lead magnet early in the video, try to pitch it near the end of the video because you don't want people leaving, early on, because what we talked about a little bit earlier being a negative viewer signal. But yeah, it can definitely, be a very valuable asset both on YouTube and, on the newsletter. And I think what I really like is sometimes, because sometimes people are like, yeah, but when you do lead magnets, you get people that are just wanting the free resource and they're not actually interested in your newsletter or anything like that. And to that, I would say if the resource is something that is kind of written word, then it becomes because for example, one of my lead magnets for my new business, work from home dads, is top 5. It's an email course, top 5 mistakes work from home dads make and how to fix them. But talking to you now, I'm like, I need to make this a framework instead of top 5 mistakes. But and it's an email course. So you're basically signing up for, it's not just signing up for a newsletter, but I'm signing up for some kind of outcome that I'm hoping for. I'm hoping to be more productive or get more done or get some insights on how I can optimize my days a little bit better so I can spend more time with my family, but they're still signing up for the newsletter. They're still signing up for writing from me, and I will embed Loom videos specifically for that, newsletter, since I feel like I'm a video first creator and I like newsletters, but I'm point number 2 in this email I want to dive deeper on. So I'm here's a Loom video where I just talk to camera, no edits, so that way I can actually create more of a personal connection with them as well, instead of just writing. But yeah, so that's what I would say about people oh, are they just there for the freebie, or are they just do they actually want your newsletter and to hear from you? And for those that just want the freebie, you can set up something where it's you can just let someone opt out and just say like, hey, here it is. I've gone ahead and signed you up for my newsletter, but if you don't really want the newsletter, you can just hit unsubscribe right here. No hard feelings. I don't want to clutter up your inbox. If you do, these are the types of things that I'm going to talk about. And I don't want people that are like not interested in getting it, just to have a bigger email list. I'd rather have a smaller list of more engaged people than a larger list of people that just signed up for one free resource and never want to hear from me again. And they just happen to stay on the email list. And so having people opt out of it is another way that you can curate your list a little bit more.
Yeah, this actually gets me to my last points, because like we use a lead magnet, but we were actually talking about this today. Like we think that our lead magnet is too big, or too, like for us it's like an A to Z cheat sheet for how to improve your YouTube, but every step has like a Loom tutorial and everything. And there's like, people would pay like money for this normally. Like, can you make your lead magnet too big? And would it make more sense to like split it up in per topic and then create content around each topic? And it's like, do you want more of this? Go and check out either then the full cheat sheet, or just a lead magnet where it is the full tutorial, for example, of that specific topic. Like, how do you see that?
Yeah. I think you can get definitely people to sign up for regardless. If you have like the simple, here's the form that I have my students fill out when they go out to the hall, to the A to Z, playbook, blueprint, checklist kind of thing. I think your target audience wants to get from A to B as quickly as possible. And so I think if you can provide something that is like low lift, I can do some kind of action to move towards this now, I think the better. And I think what you said, like if you like that resource could be like hey, over the next 10 days, maybe it's an email course. Over the next 10 days, we're going to give you our top 10 tips for, A to whatever the 10th letter is. A to M is not as appealing, but like your top 10 tips, and then at the end of it, so, like this is one of, 26 different tips that we have. If you want the full resource and guide right here, maybe that's a low ticket item, where it's like $19 or something like that, that you pitch, at the end of it. Or like starting at the email 4 or 5 or something like that. But I think 1, you can create more content out of it, but 2, I think you can get your readers to an outcome faster. Because if I had like an ultimate playbook, I think I would grab it and I would say like, dang, this is awesome. This has got everything I need. I'm going to check that out when I have time. And never check it out,
It's too long. Yeah.
And so like, I think that's like back in the day, especially with like online courses, when you think of it, it's like the people were pitching like there are 37 hours of content in here. Like we are giving you so much value, whereas where I say like, I'm going to get you from A to B in 90 minutes. It's a 90-minute course broken up over 7 videos, like that feels like, okay, I can do that on a Saturday, as opposed to like, I'm giving you more and more and more and more. Let me pare back and just give you the most curated resource. And then offer the fuller resource at a cost, and see if people are interested in that. See if people buy it.
I mean, I'm even struggling with 4-hour courses these days. So like, indeed, you were like 20-hour courses back in the day, and now it's few hours and it's even hard to get through.
Exactly.
So that's a good point. And that's why I wanted to bring it up. Cool. Honestly, this was an amazing episode and taught me a lot. And it's awesome to have a little bit behind the scenes of like how a SaaS business and like how you roll within the business as well. So thank you so much for coming on. Hope to continue that another day, especially maybe when the rebrand happens. Like we haven't even touched on the rebrand. But that's maybe we can do one with Nathan on that one.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, I appreciate y'all joining. Y'all invited me to join y'all today. This is a lot of fun. I don't get a chance to, talk about this as much with folks outside of the team. I love talking about it, but I talk to teacher friends that have their own businesses too. They're like, "Tell me about this email marketing thing." I was like, "All right, let me tell you." But if any of your listeners want to connect with me, they can find me at LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, I'm Thom Gibson, ThomGibson. If you are a work from home dad dad. And I know you are, Milan. Mike, you're like, I don't know. I've seen Milan losing out on sleep when he had that kid. I don't know if I want 3-hour nights of sleep. But if any of your listeners want to be a little bit more productive, working from home, so they can be more present with their family, with their kids, you can go to WFHDads. workfromhomedads.com. And there you can sign up for the newsletter. And you can also sign up for the 5 top 5 mistakes. What's a good, Mike, come up with a good framework. What's my framework name for my top 5 mistakes? Work from home dad, the work from home dad's paradigm framework.
I mean, ChatGPT is amazing
I'll say, like,
finding, because you can ask it to come up with 100 ideas, and 99 of them will be terrible. But one of them
you can play with. Yeah. So
I combine usually when I say like, oh, give me 10 ideas, I combine 2 of them together, and that's usually the good ones.
Yeah. So I'll jump into there, but folks will be able to connect with me there.